Welcome to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. We are back. We are 2-3. We are on a 1-game winning streak. Let's go. The Detroit Lions beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by the score of 34-16. The season is still alive, but before we get in all of that and we get ahead of ourselves and we start talking 7-game win streaks, my name is Jeremy Reisman. I am the managing editor, Pride of Detroit. I am your adequate host fill-in, your managing coach, whatever we say when Chris isn't here. Hi, welcome to the podcast. We are here. We're going to talk Lions, Jaguars. We're going to talk the future. We're going to get into all that fun stuff. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for the live Twitch audience for joining us. Maybe those of you watching on YouTube, welcome. We have fun stuff to talk about this week. We have good things. We can smile. And I know there are probably a lot of you that are angry that the Lions won and Matt Patricia's going to be the head coach for another week. But chill. The Lions won. You should always celebrate that. And we're going to get into how they won and all that sort of stuff. But let me introduce my co-hosts for the afternoon. As always, we got Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are we feeling today?
It's feeling like deja vu, Jeremy. It's feeling like deja vu. And I'll talk about that in a little bit.
I get the feeling I know what you're talking about, but I'm eager to hear more about that. But before we do, let's introduce our other co-host. Jerry Mallory's here. Jerry Mallory at Jerry Mallory NFL on Twitter. Jerry, welcome back to the show.
Man, this is awesome. The Lions won. Trip number 1 of 2 to Florida. The next one is going to be for the Super Bowl.
I like it. Well,
Book it.
But are you booking a flight right now?
Yep.
Put your money.
I bought my hotel already. Let's go.
All right. I mean, you could have stayed with my family. My family lives down there. Could have saved you some money.
I forgot about that.
All right. As I said, Lions 34, Jacksonville 16. We're going to do something a little different in this first segment here. We're going to go into like 3 takeaways. We're all going to give one of our biggest takeaways from the game. When we come back into the second segment, what have we officially called the second segment this time around, Ryan?
It's called Penthouse or Doghouse.
Penthouse or Doghouse. We're going to get into some individual performances. And then in segment 3, we're going to talk about the overarching themes. What does this mean for the Lions going forward? Are they going to go on that 7-game win streak? Is this just delaying the inevitable? We'll get into all of that first, but let's start away with our takeaways from this game. And I want to throw it right to you, Ryan. What was your biggest takeaway from this Lions win over the Jaguars?
My biggest takeaway from this game was that Kenny Golladay is for sure 100% a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And I mean, he made 4 catches, and granted, one of them was on the offsides that Stafford was able to draw, and they connected on that 48-yard pass that set the Lions up for another touchdown. But Kenny Golladay is without a doubt a game changer for this offense, and you see the difference that he makes. And I don't want to understate just how much I don't think Kenny Golladay was 100% those first couple of games that he came back, missed the first couple of games of the season. And then they talked about it on the broadcast about how he was like frustrated that the bye week was so early because he felt like he was just starting to gain some steam. And then it was, okay, let's take a break for a week and then let's go down to Jacksonville. I mean, he took this, I think, as a challenge because he came out and, like I said, 4 catches for 105 yards. That's big play stuff. I mean, that's what you want out of your number 1 wide receiver. I don't mind. Your number 1 wide receiver doesn't have to be Michael Thomas. He doesn't have to catch 12 balls a game for 95 yards or for 106 yards. Your number 1 wide receiver needs to make big plays. And the thing about Kenny Golladay is he makes big plays. He doesn't have to. I think on the it was actually the deep shot that I just talked about, the 48-yard pass. You saw that little bit of separation he was able to gain just with a little arm battle, and that was all he needed. And then Stafford just threw up a ball, and what did he do? He attacked the ball and he went and got it. I'm not saying that he's Calvin Johnson, but that was like a Calvin Johnson-esque play with the way that he, was able to create some separation, but he did it. He has to manufacture his separation, whereas Calvin Johnson could just turn on the burners and beat people.
Yeah.
But with the way that he was able to, high point that ball, attack it at the point of catch, and bring it down. I mean, that's still a really big play. I understand it's a free play, but it ends up being a play that sets your team up for a touchdown. And I just really think that Kenny Golladay is just one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. one of the top 10 best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think that you need to pay that man his money.
Hey Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeremy. Did you hear what his nickname is? They finally gave it to him. It's not Kenny G, it's not the Sax Man, it's not Babytron. Did you hear what you know what he is?
No, what is it?
Midwest Mike Evans.
Stop with your Mike Evans. But
hey,
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say Mike Evans wishes that he could carry Kenny Galladay's jock to the game.
That's what I heard, man. That's what I heard.
I'm with you though, Ryan. Like this team had been missing explosive plays through the air through the first 3 weeks without Kenny Galladay, and only 4 catches today. But he turned, like you said, he turned those into 105 yards. That catch he made on that free play was absolutely critical into turning what looked to be a stalling drive. I think that might have been. Was that a third down play? I don't know. I feel like he had at least a couple third down conversions in this game, kept drives alive. The Lions a couple times they had reached midfield against Jacksonville in this game and they had stalled and they needed a big play out of someone. And more often than not, I think he was that guy. And so he does bring a dimension to this offense that I certainly think was missing. Not my biggest takeaway of the game, but certainly I think a valid one. Jerry, let's go to you next. What was your biggest takeaway from this Week 6 victory over the Jags?
It's the redemption for DeAndre Swift. Now, it's all early, but, I mean, pretty bad start for him. You compare him to his contemporaries. You had, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who got picked just before him, had a great week 1. He looked like he was going to be the darling running back. You had DeAndre Swift's horrible week 1. You had the injuries during training camp. So it's just a rough start for him. You got a 40-year-old running back getting all the reps. But today, I think this might be the shift for Swift. And, he's clearly our best running back. It seems as though Adrian Peterson can get sometimes the tough yards. They may trust him in key situations, as far as not fumbling, but he's by far our best running back. He showed it. The first few weeks, some of his success was more so catching the ball, but we saw that explosion. We saw just how, quick he is in those cuts. I mean, I'm happy for the guy, for all the disappointment early on. And even the whole theory with running backs, I'm like you, Jeremy. I don't really like drafting running backs early. So you've got this guy in Jacksonville, James Robinson, who was picked up off the street, and he looks like, one of the better running backs. Again, another ding to DeAndre Swift, being compared to other guys, his rookie class. But I think this week he kind of separated himself, and I think that shift might be coming. If this offense is going to be successful, this was a dream scenario for Matt Patricia. As effective as we were running the ball, and it was mainly because of DeAndre Swift. So I'm thinking his carries should increase, his load should increase, and we should have some more good games like this. I'm proud of the guy because he had a rough start coming out, with that drop.
Yeah, no question. The Lions running game, huge in this game. They were able to control the clock. They had 180 total yards in this game, 116 of which came from Swift, which he hit that threshold, that 100-yard threshold that had been so elusive for the Lions running backs for so long. And 2 scores. I think we also need to talk about that. The running in the red zone. 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. They came into this game with 3 total rushing touchdowns. The Lions running game had worked fairly well, I think, through the first 3 or 4 games. But where I think they struggled was running in opportunities in which the other team knew they were going to run. When, 3rd and 1, or they're trying to run out the clock against the Bears, or whatever it is, they weren't able to do that. But in this game, great in the red zone. They're running the ball pretty well in the fourth quarter there too. When the game was mostly out of hand, but if they went 3 and out, the Jaguars may have been able to get back in this game, but they didn't. They were running the ball successfully. So to me, that's huge. That's a big step. That's what this team wants to be. Now, Jaguars defense not great, and we have to address that. Their pass defense is particularly bad, so it's good to see some of those deep plays happen. Run defense was a little bit better, but not that good. Ryan, did you come away impressed with Swift in this game?
Yeah, I did. I think the thing that's even more exciting about Swift in his play today was that I think there's another level. I think there's something more. And the thing that I point to at the box score is the 3 catches for 7 yards. I think that you see him be a much more dynamic player in terms of his ability to catch balls out of the backfield, to go out and line up as a wide receiver and make plays that way. I just really think that for as good of a game that DeAndre Swift had today, I think that there's a whole nother level to his game that can be tapped into. I mean, that's a tall task to give a guy when he runs for 8.3 yards per carry. And, he does it on just 14 carries and a couple of touchdowns, like you mentioned. But I think that Detroit really got a good player in DeAndre Swift, and I don't feel like that's an overreaction.
And let me play my own role here. You look at his carries. You look at, wow, 8.3 yards per carry. Wow, that's amazing. Let's play my game. Let's take away his longest run, 54 yards. Was that his first carry of the game, I believe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then you're left with 13 rushes for 62 yards.
I'm happy with that.
That's still 4.8 a carry.
Yeah, it's great.
That's still total. You'll take that 10 days out of 10. So
100%.
He passed the litmus test. There was definitely a moment in the game where it looked like he had slowed down, and I think that number when you took out the biggest run was more like 2.2 a carry. But again, when it came down to crunch time, when the Lions needed to run the ball, he was able to. He was picking up 4, 5, 6 yards almost every time he touched the ball. And I think you're right. In the past game, that's where I kind of expected him to see most of his yards early, and maybe it was. Still splitting carries with Adrian Peterson. It's interesting. I feel like they used Jamal Agnew more in the passing role that he could have kind of embodied in this game, and he only came away with 2 catches for 17 yards and I think a run as well. But yeah, it's weird. Do you guys feel like those two might be a little redundant for each other, like Jamal Agnew and DeAndre Swift? Like they're kind of playing the same role in a similar way, or do you think there's room for both of them?
In some ways, it's a little bit redundant. I was wondering, early on, would Marvin Hall and Agnew kind of play that similar guy that can take the top off the defense, but it is looking more so like Agnew is shifting to that kind of running back receiver type of thing. So it's a little bit redundant. But I'm thinking, Jeremy, you might need to coin that outlier thing, like a Jeremy outlier, like some type of acronym or something. Because I was thinking about that stat and thinking about him after he got the 54-yard run. I'm like, because early on, a couple of those carries after that was kind of, ho-hum.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about you might have to coin that. Another cool thing too, now these penalties may have been the reason why he got 10 plus yards, but he had a couple of runs too that were called back.
Yeah.
One was about 10 and one was about 15. So no matter how you slice it, you take the biggest run away. A few of those penalties could have went in a different direction. I mean, he's had an effective game overall. So, hats off to the guy.
I got 2 last things to say. One, what about the run where he just absolutely barreled over Josh Jones?
Yeah.
And I mean, you didn't expect that from the guy. I think when the Lions drafted him, you thought he was going to be this kind of like scat back. He's going to try to run, around defenders rather than through them. But that guy just was running through the tackle box like he was, whatever kind of 90s style running back you want to talk about. He was running with some authority. So that was really impressive. And the second thing is, Jeremy, to answer your initial question about Agnew, there is some redundancy, and I feel like the only way they use Agnew is in a really gadget, gimmicky way. And I have no problem with the play call today, but they ran that tunnel screen. Run that tunnel screen with DeAndre Swift. I want to see him do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. So you guys have talked about the offense, and that's fine. The Jaguars defense, let's call spade a spade though. They're horrible. They were, by DVOA standards, actually worse than the Detroit Lions going into this game. 32nd in the league. Bad. Awful. So we need to give some love for the freaking Detroit Lions defense in this game, because you know what? This Jacksonville Jaguars offense was 10th in DVOA. They were a good offense, and they were led by one of the best rushing attacks in the league. And what did the Lions do? One of the worst defenses in the league? Hold them to 44 rushing yards on 16 carries. 2.8 a carry. That to me is the headline of this entire game. Print it on your newspaper, throw it on, whatever. It's the most unexpected thing that happened this game. I think I gave Jacksonville a +3 or +4 advantage in my on-paper preview. How did this happen? How did this defense suddenly turn around? And it was mostly the front seven. The worst part about this team, the linebackers and the interior defensive linemen, were just god-awful through the first month of the season. And all of a sudden, what was their longest run? 9 yards, and that was Gardner Minshew? Where did this come from? Are you kidding me? How surprised were you guys when this happened? Because I'm still trying to process it. Did they, get a Space Jam ball and everyone touch it and suddenly Jared Davis is I don't know, Ray Lewis? What happened?
It's intriguing. I don't know, coach speak, right? They say things. How much do you buy into it now? According to Patricia, they slowed things down. They reduced some of the things so that they can play faster overall, so that they can react quicker. Maybe that has something to do with it. They had a couple of weeks to kind of tinker. I think these guys know it's at stake as a coaching staff. So, you get the glimpse this 1 week, but if we go down there to Atlanta and Todd Gurley runs all over us, and I'm really worried about about that game because they have a really good offense. But if we struggle that next week, it was just an outlier.
Right.
So this one was promising. I was surprised, but if we see it again next week, maybe it's a trend for me. So I'm going to be really interested to see what happens next week let me see how I really feel about this week's performance, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Jeremy, I think what's going to be most interesting for you to go back, over the course of this week and look back at this game and see what types of things you can notice on film is going to be like the play of some of the guys in the middle, like Danny Shelton. It seems like the defensive line was really to point to and to say that these guys are the reason why the Lions were able to hold the Jaguars to under, 2.8 yards a carry. Yeah. So I think it's really going to be the defensive line that's going to shine on film, because while the linebackers made some plays, we're going to get into the second segment and we're going to talk about some linebackers who looked pretty bad. And I'd have to say that the defensive line was what really, stepped up today for Detroit, and the reason why they were able to corral a pretty good Jaguars running attack.
And that brings me to my next point about the defense. Pressure. Where did that come from? They forced Gardner Minshew to throw the ball a lot quicker than he wanted to on so many plays, and it didn't result in a ton of they got one interception, and somehow they only got one sack on the day. It feels like they probably could have had 5 or 6, and maybe that's an issue that they're looking towards fixing next week. But the Lions got aggressive. They blitzed a heck of a lot in this game, and it worked.
Saved a touchdown.
It did, yeah. It saved a touchdown, and it made everything work better in the passing game, because, again, I don't really think the secondary played particularly well in this game. I saw Amani Oruwariye get beat a couple times. Jeff Okudah, again, didn't play a particularly great game. But by bringing that pressure, a lot of inaccurate passes, a lot of passes that, could have been a downfield pass for a lot of yards, ended up having to be a dump down underneath. And so, I'm just like, I'm with you, Jerry. I'm just like, wow, this is great. We've been asking for this forever. Can they continue it? And a lot of people will say, this is a Jags team. It's a throwaway performance. Don't celebrate it. Don't get caught up into it. But the thing, again, I need to point out is that this Jacksonville offense was very good going into this game. They were competing with really good teams. And I know their schedule is also not very good, but they hung 30 on Tennessee. I think we can all agree that the Lions defense is a lot worse than Tennessee, and something maybe the Lions aspire to be.
Right.
Jacksonville hung 30 on them, and the Lions held them really to 10. I know they scored a garbage touchdown at the end of the game. They got turnovers. They got pressure. They stopped the run. They did everything. I think that, and that's what's kind of like, if I want to get too far ahead of myself and start thinking really positively about this team, I think the offense still has another gear. I think the offense still isn't firing on all cylinders. And so if they can put up 34 because of the defense playing as well as they did, imagine how good this team could look with everything working correctly. And of course, every team is saying that. Yeah, if we play every game perfectly, we're going to be great. But I'm just saying, this was as close to a perfect defensive performance as I think we've seen under Matt Patricia.
It was very impressive.
I really think that's true. And so if they can just, and this is a game we played all offseason, right? Like, if the Lions defense could just be average, this team could be really good. Well, this defense was well above average today. And if they can hold that, imagine if the offense, imagine if Matthew Stafford has a good game this year. Because we're going to get into that a little bit in our next segment. I don't think Matthew Stafford is playing particularly well still. But I'm in awe of this defensive performance, and I can only hope that they play at least 80% this good the rest of the way.
Yeah, and to your point, Jeremy, yeah, the Jaguars' record was not that good, 1-4 or whatever, but if you watch their games or even just look at the highlights, they lost a lot of shootouts. So if we won this game in a shootout, maybe 34-30 or something like that, I think we'd be a little less hopeful, because, it was a typical Jaguars game where they can't stop anyone, but their offense, like you said, it has been good. So we kind of stymied. I know it's the Jaguars. It's hard to think that way, but through the first quarter of the season, they were one of the more successful offenses, both in through the pass and run. So this Atlanta one, again, I know I keep talking about Atlanta, but this is, again, a bad team, but a very good offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do in that game too, because that's when those trends start to build.
Atlanta certainly made the Vikings look like a very, very bad team this week. So, that game does loom large, and yeah, we'll say a lot about this team. Ryan, before we head to our break, anything left to say about the defense there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you made a great point about you want to see the pressure become more consistent, right? Because it only resulted in 1 sack. However, that 1 sack was a strip sack, and it ended up being a big, turning point in the game, I think, for Detroit, because Jacksonville had a chance to kind of mount a comeback there. And you're noticing something, right? You're noticing how big turnovers are for a team and their success in the win-loss record. Look at the Arizona game. Lions won the turnover battle. Look at this game. Lions won the turnover battle. It's another win for them. So I think that's something that every defense aspires to do, is they want to, make big plays. They want to make big impact plays. And the Lions defense was able to do that today against a Jacksonville team that while their offense has looked really good, I do want to say, though, that they had all of their big name players playing in their offense. They had DJ Shark. He was healthy. Laviska Shenault was out there. They had their undrafted running back, Robinson, who was out there and ready to, just lay waste to a Lions rushing defense. It's been absolutely terrible this year, but they didn't. And so you hope that the Lions defense now, after a bye week, after Jerry had mentioned, maybe if you want to buy into the coaching speak, that they've slowed everything down and they limited everything for some aspects of their defense to make things a little bit faster for them. You want to hope that they can carry this momentum into next week, because, as you mentioned, like, Atlanta has this high-powered offense, and they're gonna have to make plays.
No question about it. All right, when we come back, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the game. We're going to talk about some winners, losers, except we're not going to call them that. We're going to call them Penthouse or Doghouse. Stay tuned. We'll be right back on the PODcast. Okay, we are on break. Chat, you're not going to like this, but we're going to start something new. If you want to chat with us during the break like we normally do, you're going to have to be a subscriber, because we are going to run an ad. I'm sorry, I don't like to do it, but it's a way for us to give you free content. There's so many publications going behind a paywall at this point. We don't do that because we don't want anything to come out of your pocket necessarily unless you want to give it to us. So we're just going to run a quick 60-second break. But before we do that, I have some people to thank, because Wyval, John Whitaker from our site, just subscribed for 11 months, and Nick Coscarelli, 19 months subscribing to this channel. Wow. We've only really been streaming for about 2 years, so you've missed, like, what is that, 3 months? 4 months? 5 months? I can't do math, guys. Anyways, we'll be right back.
But you can do thank yous.
Yes, I can do thank yous. All right. We are on ad break, so for you subscribers that are still here, you'll be able to hear us. If you're watching an ad, you'll be able to see us but not hear us. Let me go through some of your comments. Why do they use Swift so damn much as a wide receiver? Because he is dangerous in space. He is very, very dangerous in space. I think so was Jamal Agnew, and I think he turned a couple of those catches into big plays, but he's Theo Riddick. Theo Riddick was great, except he can also run between the tackles.
That's one of his best traits coming out of college. They viewed him as some viewed him as the best receiving running back, even better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But it was kind of a 1 versus 2. But that's a very good trait of his. You want to use him like that. He's a multifaceted running back. That's the flavor of the NFL, right? Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. White pigeonhole him when he's good at it.
Crawdog says not a great route runner. I think I would push back a little on that. I think he's fine. I mean, he's certainly a mismatch against linebackers.
And what about that angle route he ran against the Saints?
The Texas route. We wrote up a whole article on it on Friday if you want to go back through our archives. And by we wrote it, I mean Andrew Cotto wrote it, because he's very talented at that sort of thing. Generally Bears, thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription as well. Welcome to an ad-free experience. Let's see. There was one other question I wanted to get to. Someone asked me, Jeremy, what makes you think the offense has another gear? I'm going to get into that a little bit when we talk about Stafford, but in general, I just think the Lions had 2 turnovers in this game in the first half, and they got good field position, I think, on both, or at least okay field position on both. I believe they turned it into 0 points. And I saw them get into Jacksonville territory a couple times, and they stalled. There was a couple holding penalties that pushed them back. They missed a 57-yard field goal. Mm-hmm. I just feel like they left points out on the board in this game, and Stafford's just not playing his best ball. They weren't great passing the ball today.
Stafford still doesn't look
Yeah.
good. I think that's what the other gear is. If he can look like he has for the last, several years, we still haven't seen it yet. That's where the other gear is right there. I agree with you, Stafford. Even this game, just not quite looking. I was hoping after the bye, maybe, the rust would be gone, but
Yeah.
I'm still looking at him to get better.
And they as an offense, I think as a whole, they left plays out there. And I'm not trying to be the guy who has constantly been on TJ Hawkinson's back, but like that was that was just a bad drop. Like I understand that it was a throw that like Stafford could have been, a little bit more accurate on, but it was right in his catch point.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a ball that you have to catch. And then there's just kind of like some other blunders, right? Like Kabinda in the end zone, like reaching up and playing defensive back instead of fullback.
Right. Yep. A ball that was not intended for him at all.
Right. So I mean, there's just some things that the offense I think can clean up as a whole. And Jerry's point is probably the most poignant, is that Stafford can just look a whole lot better.
And the penalties, man. I think there was way too many penalties on the offense today. Overall, I don't know if penalties were a big issue. It looks like they had 7 for 60, but I feel like the offensive line had at least 4. Like
they were drive-killing penalties.
They were. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think there was at least 3 holding penalties and illegal hands to the face. Decker had that false start that probably shouldn't have been on him. I feel like that was offsides all the way. But yeah, those are drive killers. So I do think the offense can be better. But yeah, I think that's it. Welcome back, by the way, everyone who watched the commercial. Thank you for supporting the stream. Thank you for supporting Pride of Detroit. We'll answer one more question before we jump back into the official podcast. Jeremy, do you think the lack of separation is causing Stafford to second guess throws? That's an interesting question. I might give credence to that, but he's been dealing with that for a while, right? Like this is nothing new with Kenny Golladay. This is nothing new with Marvin Jones. Like it's just that's how he's been playing for the past 2-3 years, and he's usually just kind of thrown it anyways. And who knows what's causing
there was a ball that he put right on Kenny Golladay, and I think Brock Heward made a really good point. He said that he talked to Stafford in their pregame conference that they have with one another and their chit chat, and he said that the thing that Stafford wanted to improve on was being more decisive, and that he noticed that in the first 4 games there was a lot of indecisiveness on his part. And we heard the talks about Darrell Bevell talking about footwork and things like that, and Brock Heward talking as a former quarterback himself, footwork being the determiner for separating the really good quarterbacks versus just the mediocre ones. And Stafford's footwork has always been one of his calling cards, even when he's making sidearm slings to Jesse James and things like that. Like I'm thinking that with Stafford, there are times when he is looking really decisive, and then there are other times where he's looking a little bit indecisive. He's almost second guessing himself, and hopefully that is just he's putting too much pressure and too much on his own plate. And that's something that I hope like Chase Daniel is able to ultimately maybe get to him and say, hey, look, like it doesn't have to be on you, because look at what the team did today. I wouldn't say that it was Matthew Stafford and the passing offense that won this game, even though, I wanted to talk about how big of a takeaway I had with Kenny Golladay being a big performer. 39 carries for 180 yards.
That's Matt Patricia football right there.
All day long.
Okay. You guys ready to get back into this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. 1 second. And we are back with the POD cast, celebrating a Detroit Lions victory, moving to 2-3 on the season. Big win over the Jaguars, big convincing win over the Jaguars. Let's break into the game a little bit, talk about some individual performances with our new segment, Doghouse or Penthouse. And so we're going to talk about some players that played well and are now in the penthouse, enjoying their little stay in the grotto maybe, or in the doghouse, which self-explanatory, I think.
I would say so.
Throw it to Jerry first. Jerry, why don't you give me someone who's in your penthouse this week?
Well, we already talked about DeAndre Swift. He's definitely, in the penthouse. He's loving life. He's celebrating. Kenny Golladay got some love. Now, this guy, the stats aren't looking huge, but I just like the efficiency. I like the trajectory. I got to go with my man, TJ Hawkinson. He got a nice touchdown today. I think he only had a couple of catches. But I like the efficiency that he's bringing. He's catching 4 or 5 balls a game. He's on track now to get close to 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. And so when we're looking at foundational pieces, whether it's Patricia and Quinn, whether it's whoever, I'm kind of keying in on guys like Hawkinson, on guys like Swift, because I think they'll be here for whatever the regime, ends up being. So I'm giving Hawkinson some love for the penthouse. The stats won't wow you, but it was a crucial 4th down touchdown. We needed that to keep the momentum, to keep things going. And just overall, I've been impressed with what he's done so far this year.
Let me add something about Hawkinson. Definitely doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I think we're gonna wake up tomorrow morning, look at the PFF grades, and see a very good run blocking game for TJ Hawkinson in this game. Because what I noticed is they like to take him across the formation there, and especially when their 2 right tackles went down, I feel like they brought him over to that right side a lot and helped open up some holes. Because what I found really fascinating in this game, they lose Tyler Crosby, they lose Halapuli Vati to what was it? Dehydration in this game?
Exhaustion, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have Matt Nelson out there who his only time, this might be his only time ever getting any real NFL action, and when he played in college, he was on defense, so huge liability potentially out there. They bring in Hawkinson there, and they run to the right side still a lot. They did not shy away from that side, and so I think you're going to see a really good run blocking grade from Hawkinson in this game. Which, like I said, not on the stat sheet, maybe something that is a bit underappreciated by some people. Ryan, do you want to give me a penthouse or a doghouse?
Let me give you a guy that belongs to the penthouse, even though you kind of harped on him a little bit in the first segment. Amani Aruwariye, okay. I think definitely belongs in my penthouse, and here's why. The stat sheet might say otherwise, right? The stat sheet may say Jacksonville Jaguars, Keelan Cole, I think, had something like 159 yards receiving. Laviska Shenault was breaking tackles and making 5 guys miss on defense. DJ Shark had a decent game. But Amani Aruwariye made one of the biggest plays of the game. And I think what I'm really kind of keying in on from the Lions is in really important moments, they made big plays. Coming into the second quarter, the Lions, Matthew Stafford throws that interception, right? It's 17-3.
Yep, right at the beginning of the third quarter, yeah.
Right at the beginning of the half, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford throws that interception, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are set up. They're in scoring position. They're in the red zone. It's 17-3. They can easily make this a 1-score game, but Jacksonville stalls out, and on that 4th down play, Amani Aruwariye makes a huge pass breakup. Huge pass breakup that could have ended up being an interception almost, because that ball was in the air long enough for sure. But I think, kind of like separating, the stats from seeing like the big plays that they made, because he definitely made a couple of really key tackles too. And that's something that is huge in a Matt Patricia defense is he needs his cornerbacks to be able to make tackles. And, Jeff Okudah, 8 tackles on the game. Amani Aruwariye made 2 solo tackles that I thought were pretty big, and he had 2 pass breakups, and one of them was a really key play at a very consequential point in the game. So Amani Aruwariye, for a guy who was probably the Lions' number 1 cornerback today, without Desmond Trufant, he was the guy, and I think he stepped up, and I think he played really good this week.
Fair enough. I'll allow it. You know what? I'll allow it. I'll go doghouse to start, and I want to start, I guess let's start with Marvin Jones. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy. I know he's still got the talent to be the big-time player that the Lions need to be, but 2 catches, 8 yards, coming off of a game in which he had 1 catch, 9 yards.
Again with Marvin Jones.
And what's happening here?
Yeah.
What happened to this big duo that had, that there were, for most of 2019, were first and second in the league in receiving touchdowns. Marvin Jones is a non-factor right now. He's being completely erased. And again, this was one of the worst, maybe the worst pass defense in the league, and Marvin Jones still isn't making an impact. And so that's concerning to me. And that's when I'm talking about this offense not hitting that extra gear. Marvin Jones is part of that. Where is he? And I know the Lions have a lot of weapons, but when they're not, they didn't put up a ton of passing yards today, and I know they also didn't throw the ball a ton, but still, Marvin Jones is good enough to be part of this passing attack, part of this offense, and he just hasn't been there in the past 2 weeks, and I'm not sure what's going on there.
And that's a little concerning for me too, Jeremy. Now, Marvin Jones does have like a lot of boom and bust games throughout the season. He'll
Sure.
have, low performance and huge games, but usually not to this extent. His down games are usually at least, 30, 40 yards, 3, 4, 5 catches. Not just this complete steep drop off that we're seeing. He's I don't have his age up right in front of me. He's about 30. He's close to that. I don't know if it's a scheme thing. I don't know if it's a little bit of production. His separation has never been great, but yeah, I'm a little worried about him too, man. He's got to join that doghouse for sure, Jeremy.
All right, let's throw it back to Ryan. Let's hear someone from your doghouse. Who's in your doghouse this week?
This one's too easy. Jelani Tavai is in the doghouse, and he's going to stay there for the rest of the week. He doesn't even have a chance on film review to work his way out of the doghouse because he was bad. So bad in a way that I was really shocked that he was staying on the field. Like, there wasn't any way that you could put Jalen Reeves-Maybin in the game. Like, there wasn't a way you could work Reggie Ragland into the game for Jelani Tavai. Like, put a special teamer out there because at least they have some speed and some IQ, because Jelani Tavai has neither. Like, I mean, he was getting on the play where Laviska Shenault caught that ball, he whiffed. On the Gardner Minshew scramble for the touchdown, absolutely whiffed. On the play where he got picked, come on, dude. Like, you just need to have your head on a swivel. He doesn't pass any of the tests for a linebacker. And this is just another Bob Quinn second round swing and a miss. I mean, Tease Tabor, swing and a miss. Jelani Tavai is looking like he's on that same trajectory. Will Harris. Will Harris. It just so happens to be that Jelani Tavai plays a position where the Lions have seemingly nothing better to offer. So he's in my doghouse this week.
No question. And I think missed tackles were, again, kind of big early in this game. It wasn't a persistent problem like it was, I think, last week against the Saints, and part of that is, Jaguars don't have Alvin Kamara. But I counted at least 2 or 3 missed tackles from Tavai himself, and it's sad. I mean, this was supposed to be a year, hopefully, that he was going to break out. I know year 2 is still young in a player's career, and so there's still maybe a little bit hope for Jelani Tavai, but given the level that he's playing at right now, it's bad. It's Jared Davis level bad, maybe even worse. Because at least Davis shows like the pass rushing skills every now and then. I'm not sure what Jelani Tavai does well right now.
But that's the thing about Jared Davis, Jeremy, and kick it over to you, Jerry, after this. But like, Jelani Tavai can't make even a play by accident, whereas Jared Davis's athleticism sometimes just like puts him in position to make a play every once in a while. Jelani Tavai, his inability just keeps him from making plays.
Yeah,
Tavai's bad, and it's you know what?
That's the analysis.
Yeah, you summed it up perfectly. I don't have to paint it any other way. Tavai is bad. I 100% agree. Now next week, if this segment continues, I'm going to be very disappointed if you guys don't snipe Tommy Lee Jones and The Fugitive. That little scene where he's like, "I want you to go to every outhouse, doghouse, penthouse." You gotta put that in the opening for this segment. I mean, if we're doing this the right way. For my doghouse, now hear me out. We love this guy, but when we're comparing to what we're used to, and that's like my thing with Stafford. Stafford hasn't been horrible, but what we're used to is disappointing. It's Matt Prater. I'm putting him in the doghouse for this week. And it's not just for this game. It's been for this year. He just hasn't been able to hit those long field goals. Now, is it just an aberration? I know there was some wind things going on in Jacksonville, but he missed some long ones here in Detroit at Ford Field too. You just don't know. The guy's a little bit older. Is the leg strength becoming an issue? I mean, that was such an advantage for us. If we're stopped at the 40-yard line or the 35-yard line, we still have a great shot at getting 3 points. You think back to that game versus Minnesota where we had to get up the field with very few seconds, and he nailed a 58-yarder like it was nothing. I mean, it's just a huge advantage for us from a special team standpoint. So now, are we more along the lines of him just being your average kicker? You can hit some 50-yarders here or there, but it's no guarantee. I mean, that's a big advantage that we had that's being taken away. So I love you, Prater. Hopefully this is just a 4 or 5 game aberration. But for right now, I'm putting him in the doghouse, and I'm putting an inanimate object in the doghouse as well. I'm going to go with Danny Shelton's, those rubber band things on his arms, man. His arms are so big. Those rubber bands look so tight. They look like they're about to bust at any moment. They're holding on for dear life. So I don't know if it's his arms that are in the doghouse or those rubber band things on it, but that whole combination and the look, everything about it, I hate looking at it. It looks painful, and so that's going in the doghouse too.
All right. And quick note on Prater, 0 for 3 from 50 yards or more this year. And I was really bummed too because if you think back, he's got a competition going between Bradley McManus, guy with the longest field goal, wins free beer for their city. That was a big opportunity. He blew it today. 57 yards, longer than anything McManus has kicked so far. So a little bummer about that, but I think he probably turns around. I think most of his 50-yard attempts have been 55 or longer, so it's not like they're gimmies by any chance. They're tough kicks, but he still has the leg to make it. That 57-yarder today was long enough. Just shanked it left, pushed it left. Mm-hmm. You got something really quick, Ryan?
Yeah, I got one more guy for the penthouse.
Okay,
and I think
penthouse as well, but yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Hopefully they're not the same guy, but if they are, we can just keep talking about him because he is a guy who I feel gets a lot of criticism tossed his way, and I think it has a lot to do with his contract. But let's put Trey Flowers in the penthouse.
Sure.
Makes a critical play. Again, a guy who, in my penthouse, he belongs up there because he made a critical play at a very important time in the game. 17-3, just before the half. Jaguars are about to score. They could have, gotten within a score, and boom, strip sack, fumble. So Trey Flowers, I think he belongs to the penthouse. Jeremy, what?
Sorry, we had an alert go off on our Twitch channel that literally scared the crap out of me. It's a new alert when we get gifted subs. Whew. Thank you.
I thought I slipped up and had like a Freudian slip about Trey Flowers, and I was like, oh man, what did I step into?
You're great. I just my heart is beating like crazy right now. Dear Lord, that alert is loud. Let me jump to my my penthouse. It's not a player this time. It's a group of guys. It's the offensive line. And I know I talked a little bit about all the penalties that they had, and maybe that's a reason why some of the drives stalled. But when you got a running game that's working as well as it did, and credit to running backs, they made the most out of their opportunities, but there were some massive holes in this game. Everything seemed to be clicking on that offensive line. Matthew Stafford didn't get sacked in this game. And the Lions went through all these crazy shifts during the game. It seems like maybe the guard rotation is back, which we all hate. Jonah Jackson, for some reason, wasn't in there some of the time. We saw some Ode Abushi. Some of it maybe was because of the Lions having to shift out a right tackle every 5 minutes to drink some water. But through all of that, I mean, let's put Matt Nelson in like the VIP room of the penthouse.
He's living large, baby.
Because my God, a guy who just comes off the bench, right tackle was not a problem. And here's the funny thing: when I was watching the game live, I thought Tyrell Crosby was struggling early. I thought he was bad on the right edge. I saw pressure continuing to come. I'm like, this is going to result in a strip sack one of these days. He gets out of the game. Matt Nelson comes in. I didn't see anyone on Matthew Stafford for the entire second half. They did a fantastic job. And I think part of it is because of the balance, because they were so successful in the run game. But again, that's because of the offensive line. So big VIP performance from the offensive line today.
I like how you gave Nelson that extra rub too, because if you think about it, you've got 5 healthy starters plus Joe Dahl healthy, available, as the 6th guy. Who would have thought that Nelson would have gotten any playing time? He hasn't gotten any, or much playing time with the offensive line having, different injuries. So for him to come in like that, like you said, they all get that penthouse, but he gets the special seat.
All right. Does anyone else have a penthouse or a doghouse? We haven't talked a lot about doghouse. Anyone got an extra doghouse out there that they want to hand out? Anyone?
I'm happy, man. I was gonna say I don't want to put Matthew Stafford in the doghouse. So I almost I want to put Matthew Stafford in the outhouse. meaning I just need to take a break. I just need to take a break on him. He gets a break this week because the Lions were able to win this game in a very Matt Patricia way. I think we talked about that during the break a little bit, Jeremy, but like this is like the ultimate Matt Patricia game. The defense forces a couple turnovers. They run the ball down Jacksonville's throat. They play the time of possession game. I don't even know what it was, but the Lions had to have won it. With the way that they were running the ball and the way they just seemed like they had the ball almost all the time.
35 to 25 or 36 to 24, essentially.
Which I mean is that's pretty convincing. That's almost a whole extra quarter of football with the offense on the field. And you know what? I think there was a lot of credence to that today because it was a hot Jacksonville day. Keeping that defense on the field. Maybe that's why the Lions were able to run the ball so well, is that they were able to keep that Jacksonville defense on the field and just keep their legs turning. And, you know, obviously credit goes to DeAndre Swift, credit goes to even Adrian Peterson for making some crucial runs of, 3 and 4 yards, just keeping the ball moving forward, not backwards. And I just need to see it from Stafford. I think we all need to see it from Stafford. We're at the point where we know that he is not playing the Matthew Stafford football that we all know he can play. I'm just wondering why it's not happening.
Yeah.
He has all the weapons. He has everything he needs. I think that's why you maybe see like Marvin Jones even kind of like take a step back a little bit.
Maybe
the play from Matthew Stafford, but also there's so many ways the Lions can spread the ball around. Danny Amendola, Kenny Galladay, DeAndre Swift. They got Adrian Peterson who's getting still 15 carries. Like the Lions have so many weapons. Matthew Stafford is the straw that stirs the drink. We talk about this all the time, but that's the gear that they can kick into. So I'm taking a break on Matthew Stafford this week because he's earned it over his 11 years playing with Detroit. So,
but isn't it crazy though? Like what has been the storyline for Matthew Stafford since he came into the league? Once he gets a running game, just wait and see. He's got one now. He's got at least some sort of semblance of one, and he's playing the worst football of his career. Maybe not the worst football of his career, but like not worst football in his modern career.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Stafford defenses for the last 10 years, man.
Oh, now you can't even use it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude.
All right.
Making me look horrible.
Before we go into our second break here, I want to ask you a question. Penthouse or doghouse Lions coaching staff, and why?
I got to put them in the penthouse today. I mean, they blitzed a little bit more, and it's a result-oriented business. We're looking at they could be gone potentially right now if this game was reversed and we were the ones that scored 17 points, and Jacksonville looked. If this game was switched around, they might all be gone. So you got to give them credit for the fact that we came out of the bye. We clearly looked prepared. The team is sticking with these guys. They've all bought in, and so it's observational. But yeah, they can roll in the penthouse for this week.
You agree, Ryan?
Yeah, I think Jerry said it best when he said this is a results-oriented business. And you look at how convincingly Detroit beat up a bad Jacksonville team. Like they should have gone out and done that. Like if the Lions are who they think they are, then they should have gone out and they should have beat Jacksonville the way they just did it today.
Yeah, and I mostly agree. I definitely have them in the penthouse. I'm going to be very nitpicky in this segment, so bear with me. One of my favorite things that happened in the entire game, the Lions are up 17-3. They're driving to go up, potentially more than that. It's 4th and goal from the 1. Old Matt Patricia kicks a field goal there. He's like, you know what? 20-3, that's perfectly fine. They don't do that. They go for the jugular. And that's not the only time they went for 4th down on this game. They went for it twice. They almost did it a third time, and they probably should have converted on a 3rd down. Again, it was that weird offsides false start thing that I think they got jobbed on a little bit. Mm-hmm. But there are also some things that really bother me about this game. It bothers me that Halapuli Vaitai started at right guard in this game. I don't get it. Like, I know Tyrell Crosby's playing well, but you played that guy to be a right tackle. Why is he playing right guard? You have your starting lineup finally healthy, and Joe Dahl's not even in it anymore? Why? He was playing fantastic at left guard. I get, again, maybe he wasn't ready, but he wasn't the one we were worried about in terms of health. We were worried about Frank Ragnow, and he played the entire game. And then you look later in the game, or the end of the half, I thought was really sloppy on the Lions' part. They somehow get the ball back after the strip sack that you talked about. They have really good field position. They go 3 and out. and then they have the ball with 8
They
seconds.
went backwards, didn't they?
They did. There was a holding penalty, I think, in that. And they have 8 seconds left. This is hugely nitpicky. With 8 seconds left, I would have liked to see them just try a Hail Mary. Worst comes to worst, you give them an opportunity at Hail Mary, but I think Hail Marys usually take more than 8 seconds anyways. So you're fine there. Again, nitpicky, but overall, I think you guys are right. The game plan was solid. They brought a lot more pressure. They found something that works with the run defense. I'm not sure what it is yet. I can't wait to jump into the all-22 to figure out. But yeah, results-oriented league, as you guys all said, and this was just a big, big, big win in every sense of the word, and they really dominated just about every facet of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the one last thing, Jeremy, like, not saying that the Lions are necessarily going to go anywhere, but like this keeps their season alive.
No question. And I think that's a good lead into our third segment. We're going to talk about what this win means. Do we give them too much credit because this is a Jacksonville team? Should we not give them as much credit? What does this mean coming into Atlanta? We're going to get into all of that next on the PODcast. Stick around. Okay, we are on break. Generally, Bears, thank you for the 5 gifted subs, even though it scared the living shit out of me. Can we replay that alert? I don't know if I can replay it from here, but it's a real... No, that didn't work.
What was it? What does it sound like?
So it starts out with a lion roaring, just very loud. Then it goes into their touchdown horn, which I love. I love the touchdown horn.
Mm-hmm.
I know they stole it from hockey, but I love it.
No, it's nice.
Yes, it is ad time, Nick. That is correct. Yeah, Detroit subscribed for 14 months, so he's not about to get an ad, but the rest of you, stick around. It's just going to be a 1-minute ad. We'll talk to the chat, and then we'll get back into that third segment we promised. So see you in 60 seconds.
Can I talk to the chat about how absolutely jealous I am of that guy who laid that $2 million wager because he is about to clean up?
Did he win?
The Dolphins are up 21-0 at halftime.
Oh my God. And the Lions definitely won -3.5.
Yeah.
What's this $2 million wager? What's this? I didn't hear about it.
So someone laid a parlay, Lions -3, and I think just Miami straight up.
I think it was Miami straight up, yeah. And they laid $2 million on the 2-team parlay.
For 2.1 million, I think, in return.
Yeah. Double up. Yeah.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Bovado.
Dude, I'm doing okay today. I actually made some good bets.
We gotta talk about that too. Don't let me forget.
Yeah. There's go ahead and get into the chat questions though.
Yeah. Let's see. Travis Fulgham or Marvin Jones? Shut up.
Hey.
I think Fulgham had a pretty good game today. I think
he did.
6 for 75 or something like that.
But let's also be clear. That was kind of garbage time for them too, right? Like they were way down in that game, and they almost came back. And did they score the potential game-tying touchdown and miss the 2-point conversion?
Yes, they did.
Oh my goodness!
And do you know who blew it? It wasn't Fulgham.
It was Carson Wentz, a 1-yard run.
It was Carson Wentz. It was one of those mesh plays where he got the ball and then he was like waiting on the running back to take the ball, and he definitely should have handed it off, but like he kept it, and then he just got tackled.
Wentz.
So I guess that wasn't a garbage time touchdown. I'll take that back if they were that close to winning the game. Fulgham, 6 for 45 and a touchdown. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the long term, but hey, good for him. I thought it was really interesting how the Lions coaches responded when we asked them about Travis Fulgham. They did not.
I said he sucked in so many words.
Yeah, basically, offensive coordinator Delaware Bevel says, yeah, we were a little surprised by him being good. He says, like, yeah, when he was here, he was okay. Like, why? Why kind of take these subtle shots at him when you can just be like, listen, man, no one would have blamed them for them to say, hey, man, our wide receiver room was really competitive. We liked what Fulgham could do. We just couldn't find room for him on this roster. That's a fine thing to say.
Yeah, it's really nice to see he's experiencing success somewhere else. Like, it's so much easier than throwing shade.
Yeah, and then I asked Robert Prince the same thing, and he's not necessarily as like passive aggressive, but then he's just like, yeah, I guess the Eagles found something in him. What? Wow. What did he do to you on the way out? It's funny because after those press conferences, I went back to check Travis Fulgham's Twitter to see if did he lay some shade? that I didn't see? And it's like, no, it's all like, I love Detroit for the opportunity they gave me. This is my next step. All the like classy exit
Cliche.
things. Yeah. I'm just like, what happened here? Where did things go sour? I don't know. It was weird. I know part of it is, it makes him look bad, but like, you don't be salty about it publicly. Just be like, just take the high road. That's what you're there for. You're a coach. You're a leader. You got to take high roads when it comes to players. Don't throw them under the bus like that. And it wasn't a direct throw under the bus. It was just weird to me.
Yeah.
How was Okudah not in the doghouse? I don't know. He gave up one big pass play. That's it.
Yeah, I'd have to watch again. I don't think he, the last few weeks we kept seeing him from a negative standpoint. I didn't see his name pop up as much today, so that might be good. I mean, I had to look at the all 22, but
yeah,
like I said, he had that one play where he bit on that double move, but he had a relatively quiet day.
Yeah,
a couple of nice tackles.
Quiet is good for a cornerback, right?
That's the whole thing. For a minute, I didn't know if because he left, he went to the sideline like he was a little bit gassed.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was an injury or something for a while there. I thought maybe he was out of the game, but it was just like you say, quiet is good for a defensive back. So
sure. A couple people in chat talking about this Packers-Bucks game that I have in the background. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers threw a pick six and then followed up with almost another pick six.
Nice.
They're currently down 14-10, which is nice.
The Bears won a bullshit game against the Panthers.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that, but saw that they were pretty much in the driver's seat the entire game there, right?
They're the worst 5-1 team in the history of the NFL.
But how long are we going to continue to say that? How long are we going to be like, oh, this is the worst 4-1 team. Oh, this is the worst 5-1 team. Oh, this is the worst 6-1 team. Like,
because I watched Nick Foles play quarterback, and Nick Foles is so bad.
They're bad, man.
They're really going to get tested in the next 5. They got Rams, Saints, Titans, Vikings, Packers.
I can I will go on record right now, and I say they will lose 4 of those games. They will lose 4 of those games.
The crazy thing is they're still 6-5 out of that.
I know, but then you'll see it's a miracle they're even 6-5.
Their defense is good though. You have to give credit to the defense.
Okay.
By the way, I think we got another gifted sub from Generally Bears. Thank you for the 6th gifted sub of this channel. You only get the super alert if it's 5 gifted subs or more, for the record. But please don't do that right now. I don't know if my heart can take it. Welcome back, everyone, from the commercial break. I'll answer 1 or 2 more questions before we get back into the final segment here. It's because Rodgers did 3 pumps on a touchdown that was not a touchdown. I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take
Sounds kinky.
3 pumps.
3 pumps. Oh, you're
Who's in the chat? Danica Patrick?
Okay.
Yeah, Detroit with the 5 gifted subs and the super alert. Thank you. I was a little bit more prepared for that one. I think when you do it in the middle of the segment, and please, again, don't do it in the middle of the segment because that's when we're recording for the audio version. That really caught me off guard. But yeah, no, I was just getting to it. When Ryan said the 3 pumps out loud, I realized you were making reference to the Key and Peele sketch. The excessive celebration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Classic.
Hingle McCringleberry. That's right. Did he actually do that? Because I kind of have respect for Rodgers if he did it. 1, 2.
Hingle McCringleberry.
Throw the flag. Great sketch. He did it. Guys, do you think the train horn is too loud? I feel like it's worth it for 5 gifted subs. Okay, you know what? There's a clip of it. We're gonna watch it on stream. As much as we don't want to give Aaron Rodgers credit,
I want to see this. So I'm going to our Twitch channel right now.
It's good. It's subtle. I like it. I'm sorry. I like it. I like what he did. 2. And of course, Joe Buck hates it. Of course, Joe Buck hates it.
That's funny.
Disgusting act by Aaron Rodgers. Oh, so that touchdown didn't even count. Okay, that makes it even better. Love it. 2 pumps, the same amount of interceptions he has today. Yes, true. Okay. All right, you guys ready to jump into this final segment, chat? My co-host ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Give me a segment, and we will jump back into it. Hold on. Another 5 gifted subs from Generally Bears. We were so close to getting back. Right. Ryan Matthews with the 5 gifted subs as well. Now we're on the hype train, y'all.
Let's keep it rolling.
We're already level 5 of the hype train. Do I need to sit here and wait for this hype train to die down, or do we need to jump back into it?
They'll hit you as soon as we start.
Right?
You might as well just start.
All right. We're gonna get into it.
We are at the 2 pumps. We just need a 3rd pump.
There it is. Nick with the 5 gifted gets us to that level 5 hype train. Well, thank you for not waiting until we started. Appreciate all the gifted subs to everyone. Dre Army got one. Big Ick Nick got one. I'm not going to go through them all. Troy Barnes, who's a pleasure to have in our Discord. I know he's active in our Discord. If you're not, ! Discord. It's basically a chat room. We have a private Lions chat room where we talk about Lions stuff. We talk about video games. We share pictures of our pets. Sometimes we hang out during Thursday night games and just go to an audio chat and literally just talk to each other. We play video games together. Make sure you hang out over there. It's a lot of fun. The roar in the horn is too quiet, to be honest. You're lying. No, it isn't in here. I can tell you it's not in here. All right. No, Nick, I'm not making it louder. No. I can make it louder to you guys if you want. It's not going to be louder for me. All right, I'm going to crank it up for you guys, but, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get more subs, so next time, I guess. All right, are we ready?
Let's do this. Now. 3rd segment. It's dagger time.
Let me see. I was going to see if the Bucs are about to score again. They're not. Okay. And we are back with the PODcast. Final segment of the show, celebrating this Lions win to move to 2-3. But this segment, we are going to talk about big picture. Should we celebrate this win? Is it a big change? Is this where the season turns around, or was this just a blip on the radar? And obviously, none of you guys know the answer to that yet. But Ryan, let's throw it to you first. How much of this performance are you taking as legit as, you know, maybe this defense can turn things around, can figure things out? Maybe the offense is finally getting things working on the ground game. How much of this performance is sustainable?
You know, it was really hot in Jacksonville. I think we saw a mirage. I really did. I think that this was all just something that we will forget about in 1 week's time. I think when the Lions play the Atlanta Falcons, it's going to be a much different story. I think you're going to see a high-powered Atlanta offense that features the likes of Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Todd Gurley, and we're catching them on the road. And you know that the Atlanta Falcons love to play in the dome, so it's going to be a really tough matchup for the Lions. If they can go out and if they can play defense the way that they played defense today against Jacksonville, then I will buy into the Lions defense making the right plays, making the right steps to being a good defense. They're still going to be in the maturation process, but I can't buy the Lions defense right now.
Jerry, I have a feeling you feel the same way, but let me just ask the question. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. Just looking at that Atlanta offense, if we give Matt Ryan time, they have the weapons to just, probably humiliate us, put up 35 or 40 points. So I am celebrating this week because Hey, wins don't come often enough, and so I'm happy about this week. I'm celebrating it. For me, Mondays are always better when the Lions win. Sunday night football is more enjoyable. Everything I like when we win. Period. So I'm happy. I'll enjoy this week, but I am worried about next week. This is an easy stretch coming up these next 7 games, but I'm looking at Atlanta. Even the Colts have been iffy. But and then even Minnesota, because that familiarity, I just don't look at those 3 games as whatever their records are. I don't look at those as just we're better than those 3 teams, just from what I've seen so far. So, yeah, I kind of like that mirage theory. We won out in the desert there in Arizona, so that was definitely a mirage. You got that slimy swamp-like heat in Florida, a little miragey, if you want to put it that way. So, yeah, I don't think this is a turnaround per se. So I'm kind of feeling the same way as Ryan on that one.
All I'm hearing is Lions won in the South against the Cardinals. Lions won in the South against the not the Dolphins, against the Jacksonville. They're going down to Georgia. Hey, three road wins to start the season. Huh?
No. You find the devil in Georgia. That's what you find in Georgia.
No, I'm with you guys, and I do think next week tells a lot about the team, but we also have to realize this is still not a good Atlanta team, and while their offense is certainly good, I wouldn't even call it great right now. I mean, maybe it's turned a corner with Julio Jones in the way that maybe the defense has turned a corner here. We don't know, but I there's a couple things that I want to get to about what Jerry said. The first thing is celebrate a win, regardless of whether you think it's fool's gold or not. Enjoy this, because there's a lot out there that I'm sure wanted the Lions to lose this game, wanted Matt Patricia fired tonight, and didn't get that. Obviously not going to get that for at least the next week, maybe even more. But if you think Matt Patricia is that bad at his job, guess what? He's probably going to screw it up in the remaining 11 games. There's 11 games for him to screw it up, right? So enjoy this one. Enjoy the win for what it was, because if Matt Patricia is as bad as you think he is, he's going to screw it up. So, I mean, if this team goes 6-10, he's not going to stick around. I really believe that. And so I don't think this kind of win necessarily gets them to 7-9, 8-8, 9-7. Any of they need to string together all those kind of performances. And then the other thing I want to say is I think the Falcons present a different kind of problem for this defense, and that's passing attack, right? We saw the Lions improve their run defense a lot, but passing the ball has still been an issue with this team, and it was wishy-washy today, right? They got a lot of pressure, and I think that got them out of a lot of jams, but there were a couple of coverage breakdowns. I think, I still don't think Jeff Okudah or Amani Oruwariye are playing particularly well. Tracy Walker is having some issues. I really like the play of Deron Harmon. He's the only guy in the secondary who I think is playing consistently well, and we saw Jaron Kearse get some time as well, and I think he was okay. But in terms of coverage, I think this team still has a lot of issues, and to me, this game didn't really assuage any of my concerns, any of my anxieties about their secondary, because, Minshew wasn't horrible in this game. He was fine. And a lot of times when he was getting those pressures, he would release the ball quickly, he'd throw it to a spot, and the guy had 2 or 3 steps on his defender. And so that, to me, is going to be key next week. It's a worse matchup in my opinion, than this week was. And I probably didn't think that going into this game, considering how bad the Lions' run defense was. But if the run defense can hold on, I still don't know if that means they're stopping Atlanta next week. And so that, to me, is a big concern going forward.
So now it's like the run defense. We've had 2 good games and 3 bad ones. So is it just like an inconsistent run defense? Is it an up and down? The run defense. I mean, it's only 5 games, but about half the year that the Arizona game, this game has been solid. But like you said, Jeremy, that pass defense and that coverage still is kind of. I'm worried, man. I'm really worried. So we'll see what happens.
Ryan, do you have a point that you want to make?
Yeah, I was going to say, for whatever reason, and I'm not trying to put him by any means into the Kyler Murray category at all whatsoever, but you have a guy like Gardner Minshew, who, I mean, I would call him a mobile quarterback.
A little bit.
Yeah. His first season, 67 rushes for 344 yards. I mean, the guy can move outside the pocket. He can pick up first downs with his legs. And it's just interesting how they were able to have a game plan for Kyler Murray that really stifled the run defense or the Cardinals rushing offense. They were put together another, good plan for this Jacksonville offense, which has really been their calling card is their rushing attack. So the Lions have been able to do that against mobile quarterbacks, but for whatever reason, Drew Brees picks them apart. Aaron Rodgers picks them apart. They can't put together some kind of, game plan for a pocket passer. And it's kind of frustrating because you think it'd be the exact opposite.
Yeah, definitely. I think in a way a mobile quarterback plays into how they want to defend up front a little better. They want to contain, right? Like that's their thing no matter who's back there. And so the game plan about containing a mobile quarterback, that makes sense. It doesn't make as much sense against a pocket quarterback. You don't need to worry about containing about them because they can't escape. And so, right. If they bring a similar game plan that they did this week, sending a lot of pressure, sending a lot of blitzes that were effective against Matt Ryan, that makes a lot of sense. It almost didn't make as much sense in this game, but it obviously worked out for him.
Yeah. The one other thing I want to point out, and this has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that this is the most impressive win of the Lions season, right? I mean, this is more impressive than the Arizona Cardinals win, even though I think the Cardinals are a better team than the Jaguars.
Agreed.
This was from start to finish, I think, a win.
Yeah, because the Arizona game felt like Arizona lost it more than. I hate that kind of cliche, but it kind of felt that way. Arizona lost, Lions didn't win.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. It is really, really frightening how similar this game is to the Miami Dolphins game that the Lions won 2 years ago.
Yeah, it is.
It's scary similar. I'm taking a look at the team stats right now, and in the win today, the Lions had 25 first downs. In the game against Miami, 24 first downs. They controlled the time of possession. They had similar yards per play. The other big thing that stands out to me is that Matthew Stafford was uber efficient in that Dolphins game. He was 18 to 22 for 217. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah.
Is that that game was as perfect a Matt Patricia game as you could ever imagine, because not only was Matthew Stafford damn near perfect, I mean, that was Kerryon Johnson's coming out party, 19 carries for 158 yards, which is pretty similar, I should say, in terms of 14 carries for 116 yards from DeAndre Swift. Those guys are pretty similar into yards per carry. So there's just a lot of eerie similarities. Third down efficiency in the Dolphins game. They weren't good on third down. They were 2 for 8. In this game, they were 3 of 12. It's just really eerie how I think Florida man had something to do with both these games.
Florida man.
Can we talk, because this is this speaks to a larger trend that we've seen under Matt Patricia at the beginning of seasons, right? Mm-hmm. I already saw someone point out this is literally the exact same win-loss combination of the 2018 season. Lost to the Jets, lost to the 49ers, win against the Patriots, lost to the Cowboys, win against the Packers. 2 and 3. Loss, win, loss, win. And it feels like the same kind of thing happened in 2019. Obviously, the record's a little bit different, but you have that extremely disappointing loss or tie to the Cardinals. You come back, you string together a couple wins, you string together a close loss to the Chiefs. You get that. You start off down as down can be. You bring yourself back up to thinking, hey, maybe this team can actually compete, and then we all know what happens at the end of both those. Lions get to 3-3 in 2008. They end up losing to 7 of their last 10. They lose 9 in a row to end 2019. So is there anything about this team that has you thinking maybe this time, this blip, this glimmer of hope, this 2 wins in 3 games is the start of something new? This is actually something and not just a blip before it all falls apart again.
I don't see it yet. I mean, to be honest, you can say Stafford being healthy as opposed to 2019, but he was there in 2018. So I mean, not yet. And we're talking about different styles and how we're successful. I think one of the big things, and not to oversimplify it, but pocket quarterbacks really relish when you don't have interior pass rush. We don't have a lot of pass rush at all, but traditionally when we do get a pass rush, it's not from our defensive tackles. Mm-hmm. So, do you remember Deshaun Hand? Is he still on this team? Nick Williams, Does that name ring a bell? I mean, these were the guys that were supposed to add some interior pass rush. Now, when we do get interior pass rush, it's coming from blitzes, which means these pocket if we don't actually get to the quarterback, these pocket guys are going to eat us apart because the coverage is going to be favorable. So, I mean, we've got a little bit of an issue. If we can't collapse that pocket without blitzing, we're going to fare badly. And when we do blitz, we have to get home. So until I see that, I'm not too confident, Jeremy, not to be doom and gloom. I'm enjoying today, but I don't see a whole lot different. Next week could tell us a lot, though.
Let me throw this stat out at you really quick about the defensive tackles. Nick Williams, Danny Shelton, Deshaun Hand. One tackle total. Deshaun Hand is not on the box score.
It's ridiculous. And Shelton's been our best interior pass rusher, and he was here to be really the nose. The guy was supposed to be the most. He's been the best against the run and the best pass rusher. And where's Deshaun Hand at? Where's he at?
Well, yeah, and that's like we just got done praising the Lions' run defense, and I do think some of the interior defenders have a lot to do with it. A lot of their job is making sure the linebackers can run free and make tackles. And you see Jamie Collins had 7 tackles. Tracy Walker came up and had 6. Jared Davis had 4 in this game. So for the most part, they did their job in the run game. But you're absolutely right. There's just no pass rush coming from the interior at all, period. No question.
Yeah.
All right.
If you can't compromise the pocket, those pocket quarterbacks are going to feast, man. I'm worried.
Now, to go back to my original question, is there any sign that this year could be different, that this could be the sign of a turning point in the season? I do want to talk to 2 things that maybe, this is me trying to play devil's advocate a little, because I'm with you guys. I need to see more before I start believing in this team. I'm going to enjoy it for now. I'm going to be very, very pleasantly surprised about how the defense played in this game, but I need to see consistency. But Matthew Stafford hasn't been playing well. And for the Lions to blow out a team in which Matthew Stafford doesn't play well, I don't know if we've ever seen that. And the schedule. We got to keep going back to the schedule, at least for now. If they can get some good or mild performances and still beat some of these teams, Atlanta's beatable. I'm sorry, their defense is horrible. Their offense is inconsistent. The Colts, inconsistent. They're what, 4-2, so they're not bad. I don't believe in Phillip Rivers no matter what happened this week. I know he mounted a huge comeback, but he was awful through the first month of the season. And then you're talking about some really not good teams. The Vikings are falling apart. Washington's bad. The Lions are better than Washington. And then the Panthers are just kind of a mediocre team. I'm not saying they're going to win all those games, but they certainly have the opportunity to win each of those games. And so if they don't need to play as well as they played today to beat some of those teams. They really don't. And so they get a little bit better performance of Stafford going forward. They play like at an 80 or 90% level of what they played in this game. They could certainly win 4 out of the next 6, and then who knows what happens from there. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice. And then, to your point, Jeremy, the first 4 games, I believe we had the toughest schedule just comparing the opponents that we faced. We're the only team that their first 4 games were all against teams over 500. So the schedule lightening up. Am I saying that right? The schedule being easier. English teacher, help me. The schedule being easier should, that might help us. But I think it's going to help us to I'm including this game in that 7-game stretch to maybe 4-3 in that stretch. Still just kind of not quite good enough. And you're looking at 5 and 6 after that stretch, and then it gets harder toward the end a little bit with some more quality teams. So, but we'll see.
Ryan, if I had to press you right now and give a record over the next 6 games, what are you giving them? Do you want me to read it through the opponents again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Falcons, home against Colts, at Vikings, home against Washington, at Panthers, and then home against the Texans.
I think that over the next 6 games, I think the Lions can go 3-3. And I know that's probably a really boring answer.
Sure.
I know that's a boring answer to say that they just play 500 ball. But here's the thing about the NFL schedule. It's a week-to-week thing. It really is a week-to-week thing. The Vikings just went and laid a huge egg against the Falcons. Remember how we were talking about how the Vikings were actually like one of the best, like, quote-unquote bad teams because of their performance that they had against the Seattle Seahawks? I mean, it truly is a week-to-week thing. So when you're looking at the Lions you're looking at their schedule. Yes, the Falcons look like they're going to be a little bit more of a test now that they finally got a win under their belt. The Colts, who are the Colts? They might be the most Jekyll and Hyde team in the entire NFL. The Vikings, and we're going to catch them on the road. Are they going to have their stuff put together by then? Are they going to be the team that they played against Seattle? Or are they going to be the team that played against the Atlanta Falcons? The only team that I see in here that I can count on for sure being bad in the way that the Jaguars were bad today is the Washington football team. I think if you're talking about the Carolina Panthers, are you going to get Teddy Bridgewater who doesn't turn the ball over? Or are you going to get like a situation with the Arizona Cardinals game and they're almost going to lose the game more than the Lions are going to win it? Or, in the Texans game, are they gonna find a groove under their interim head coach Romeo Crennel by then, or are they still going to be the Texans who fumble the game against the Tennessee Titans that they 100% should have won today? And Jeremy, I don't know if you even caught like the end of that game, but there were some very, very interesting decisions that were made.
I'll have to go back and look. I didn't. I do want to go out on this last question. I think it's an important one, and it's one I think Lions fans are very interested in. How much time, how much rope does Matt Patricia have now after this win? How much time did he buy himself? Because there were some rumors. I don't want to give too much credence to them, but there was rumors this was it. If they didn't win this game, they were done. Now with not only a win, a decisive win, a win in which they changed their identity. They did some uncharacteristic things. They did some things that Lions fans have been begging for, and it all worked. How much time do they have now? If they go out and lose to Atlanta, are they done? I feel like they've bought themselves a little rope there, right? They probably at least have some slack there. What would it cost? Do they need to lose the next 3 and lose the next 2? Is there a chance if they just get embarrassed, they get flatlined, steamrolled by the Falcons, could they still be gone?
No, I don't think anything that could happen with that game will make them lose their jobs. So if I'm thinking about how much rope they have, what's the worst case scenario that has to happen, and then they lose it? I think they've bought themselves 3 games. They can lose this upcoming game. They can lose the one after that. Then that seat's piping hot. And if they lost the third one, maybe it's a replacement coming in. But winning a game like this probably earned them 3 games in my opinion.
And that third game is a Vikings game, and going 0-3 to start the season in the division, that's a death sentence.
Yep.
Yeah, it truly is. But I think you take a look around the league and you see a lot of teams who are mediocre, especially in the NFC. I think you see with the Lions, what this win did is, as I mentioned earlier, it kept their season alive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this is a playoff team, but what I'm saying is this win gets you a little bit closer to, thinking about the playoffs. The Philadelphia Eagles are 1-4. The Giants are 1-5. The Washington's 1-5. The team that's leading that division just lost their quarterback for the season, the Dallas Cowboys, and they're 2-3.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to have a team with a losing record win the NFC East. You're talking about wild card teams around the league. The Chicago Bears, who are 5-1, and the reason why I call them pretenders is their plus minus differential is 12 points.
12.
And they've won 5 football games.
That's crazy.
That you know what's even crazier? Look at the NFC West. Every single team has a plus point differential.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lions have a shot, and as long as they have a shot, if they don't fumble these next 6 games, Matt Patricia is going to be around, I think, for the rest of the season.
I like those stats. We start calling you Ryan Math.
It's interesting because, yeah, the NFC East is bad. Yeah, the Bears are pretenders. I think we can all probably agree, even though as we're speaking right now, and this might turn out to be bad by the end of the podcast, the Packers are getting shellacked by the Buccaneers right now. I don't think the Lions have a shot at the division. I think we're all probably pretty safe in saying that. There are 3 wild cards this year, though. We know one's not coming from the NFC East. Maybe give one to the Bears. Maybe. I'm going to say give one to the Bears. So then you're talking about fighting between teams like whoever doesn't win the NFC South, the Saints or the Bucks. Maybe give them one as well. And then you're kind of into tricky territory here. Now the Lions have to jump either the Seahawks, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Niners. Niners are in a tough position with all their situation right now. Cardinals, they do have the tiebreaker up on the Cardinals.
Holding that tiebreaker over the Cardinals.
But the Rams are really flying under the radar right now at 4-1.
I'm not giving the Bears a wild card. I can see if, let's say we're in a wild card race, I could see it potentially being versus them. You
Yeah.
know, maybe we're at 7, 8, 9 wins. I agree with you. They keep winning. We keep expecting them to lose. We've watched this team, though. We've watched the quarterback play. I'm okay giving those other teams, probably a good chance they'll make the wild card, but I can see the Bears falling just, flat on their faces. And maybe that's the team we're competing with if we're in the wild card race.
Guys, I successfully got you to talk about the playoffs by the end of this podcast.
You tricky dog, you.
Ryan, did you have one last point before we head out?
Yeah, I just kind of, piggyback off Jerry's point. It might come down to Chicago and Detroit for another wild card spot. And you're circling that date at the beginning of December and saying, like, that might be the pivotal game. Because we talked about it earlier. You did, Jeremy, about next week they got the Rams. Then it's the Saints. Then it's the Titans. Then it's the Vikings. Then it's the Packers. That stretch of, 6 or 5 games right there. If the Bears lose 4 of those games and they end up 6-5, the Lions could be in a similar situation going into that December game.
Can't believe we went from fire Patricia to potential playoff team in 1 week against a 1-4 Jaguars team.
You can't believe that?
It's that darn 7th spot, man. That extra spot got us all going crazy.
That one spot could be ours.
That one spot, man.
You never know. Well, thank you all for joining us for the PODcast. Make sure you're subscribed, leave a review. If you're on Twitch, subscribe. Get notifications every time we go live by following us. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, all that fun stuff. We'll be back on Wednesday night previewing that Atlanta Falcons game with a special guest. So stick around. Thank you for participating. Thank you to our 2 guests, Jerry Mallory, Ryan Matthews. I'm Jeremy Reisman. It's chaos. Be kind. We'll see you next week. All right, we're going to stick around, chat. Let me get the recording bear out of here. 1 second.
See ya, Craig.
Craig. Why you gotta lie, Craig?
There we go.
Chris is going to be upset because I just realized I recorded the entire podcast without my microphone plugged in.
Uh-oh.
So you didn't sound that bad.
He's getting my MacBook audio. But
You were a little loud, but I think it'll be fine.
nothing we can't fix in post.
Nothing.
Giving
fix in post.
Giving people a little peek behind the curtain.
Did the Bucks just get another pick? Oh my goodness! Oh no, that wasn't a pick. Did I miss it?
Apparently, Sue had a rough in the passer on Rodgers.
They step on him.
Flashback.
Almost pick.
QWERTY Aaron said, "What year is it?" Yeah, that's like a nice 2012 play there.
Playoff predictor is way more fun than Tankathon. 100%, Nick. 100%.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Watch out for playoff fools. Hey.
Sorry, I wanted to come in. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Chris. How you doing, bud?
Hey,
You feeling
bud.
better?
Hey, buddy. What you got in that bag?
Hold on 1 second. Everything's like I'm hearing both and like. Hold on. I sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
you got to
check.
turn off the stream.
A lot. Yeah. I have a lot of Chinese food here.
Nice.
That's what I've got. Mongolian beef, crab wontons. This is my, congratulations, the Lions win. Even though people are saying I have been owned, let me tell you, folks, I have never been owned in my life.
28-10 Bucks at halftime. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's a statement win for Tampa Bay for sure. If they can
you're
pull it off.
calling it a win.
I think we can call it a win. Let's call it a win and just forget whatever happens.
Yeah.
Let's call it a win and never get owned online.
Aaron Rodgers has never came back after a big lead. Never.
Yeah. Also, never get mad at me about a wide receiver 5 prediction. Like,
What even? What? I don't even. What are you
I don't
talking
even
about?
know anymore, man. Like, I woke up. I missed my alarm, so I wasn't on this podcast because I missed the game. But I woke up and my mentions were a mess. So I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Jerry knows he's got tagged in it. So, but
I'm
yeah.
I'm going on a haunted forest
You gotta go.
trail. Yeah, so I'm going to peace on out.
Everyone
So-
say bye to Ryan
Sounds good.
in the chat, please.
All right.
Thanks, Jerry. I'm gonna buy an Xbox now.
That's right, baby. Let's go. Hey, see what colors I'm wearing, right? Let's go. Got
Are you
that
getting paid
Xbox-
for that?
Yep, Xbox lime green going on.
That check's coming in the mail?
Power your future.
Okay.
By the way, chat, I want to just thank you all for the amazing support. We had dropped well below 100 today, and you guys came at it with the subs today. We had I think we had about 20 today.
Yeah, holy shit, I was watching the whole thing.
And Jesus Christ, that alert.
Killing me. Killing.
I love and hate it. We'll stick around probably for about 10 minutes here.
Someone said Ryan's going to take 100 math quiz. Ryan Math in the building.
Ryan Math.
Ryan Matthews, the rock god. The rock god has left the building.
Chat, what were your biggest takeaways? Tell me what you thought of today's game. I know most of you aren't buying in, and I completely understand that. And like I think I tried to at least make somewhat clear, I'm not buying this team at all yet either.
So I had some thoughts. I ended up watching, going back and watching most of it while you guys were talking. And honestly, if I was on, I would have said like Ryan's thing that this was Dolphins 2018.
Yeah.
That sounds way too on the nose right now. I'm sorry. Like, I know people are pumping up Jacksonville's numbers. The Jags are not a good team. They're just not a good team. I think.
But I mean, that
pump the brakes a little bit. But here's the thing. Here's the thing too. Excuse me. Atlanta's not a good team either. The Lions could very well be 500 by the end of next week.
Right. I feel like that was our feeling on the Dolphins at the time too, though. Like, we weren't sure if they were a good team or a bad team at the time, so we were weighing that win as like, well, we dominated a team that at least looks okay, at least can look competent. Turned out they were garbage.
Yeah, it just this game fits into a pattern we've done, and I've noticed it on our podcast, and I feel like I've got to do better about it. And that the Lions are garbo for the start of the season, and you get one win, and all of a sudden the Kool-Aid just pops out, and we can't help it sometimes.
Right.
And legitimately so. We want to talk about good things that happen with the team. When the team does well, you want to talk about good things. But in a larger picture, like, I think this is just it. It's a win's a win, and like, it feels good to be about a win. I wish I had called Jags. I was listening to a bunch of my smarter Vegas buddies, and they were all taking the Lions in this game, including people who have just been repeatedly doggedly down on the Lions just because it was a good matchup. So, I mean,
it's kind of the curse of being too close to a team, right? Like, you get too up
right.
for the up games.
No, my friend John said that
games.
too. Yeah, my friend John said that is like, because I do picks with him and a couple other guys. We predict the spread, we pick against the spread, and then we pick straight up. And I was the only one picking the Jaguars because I try to keep all my picks consistent across all the 80 different platforms I do picks on now. And he told me straight up, is like, Chris, you're too in the weeds for this one. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. But, a lot of other people were picking the Lions too. It happens sometimes. The NFL is a rough league, man. It's a random league. Like, it's hard to predict. It's not the NBA. The bad teams sometimes win games because they just get good matchups. Like, I was arguing this on the air the other night. Like, although granted, I was arguing in favor of Cleveland, who just ate dirt against the Steelers. But sometimes you get a good matchup. Sometimes your team, like your defensive scheme works well for this particular team and what they do on offense. Sometimes your offense just knows how to beat the coverage that another team's running, and it happens. Like, to win in the NFL, the stars have to align sometimes.
Right.
It's not just your talent, but sometimes the stars just have to align. That's why we get weird games every year where, like, hey, the Lions are somehow able to stymie the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Chiefs lose this year to the Raiders. No one goes 16-0 in this league for a reason. No one goes 0-16 in this league for a reason. It's hard to do it because sometimes stars align. You get the right matchup you need, and bam. Like, I don't expect DeAndre Swift to have a ton of 100-yard games. Doesn't mean that he's bad. It doesn't mean that he's good. It's just that in this game, he got to feast on a Jags defense he knew how to beat.
Yeah. The one thing that still puzzles me, and it's the thing that gives me the most hope, is the run defense. Like, this was a nightmare matchup for the run defense. Their run defense was just god awful in the first 4 games, and the Jaguars were running like crazy on teams.
Yeah, and we've known the run defense is good just by a larger body of work. Like, that's the one thing on Patricia's defense that seems to work is the run defense in the past. I'm just saying, in the past few years, the run defense has been the strength of this team.
Yeah.
It's been a mixed bag. In stretches, it's had some good.
It's certainly been the focus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been what they've worked to improve. And yeah, I mean, this performance is what Patricia wants the team to look like. And we want the team to be able to run it for nearly 200 yards and stop teams for less than 3 yards a carry and only 40 rushing yards or whatever.
Yeah, and listen, Minshew is the type of quarterback where you can do things. You're going to get, like, I could see us doing the same thing against the Vikings right now if Kirk Cousins continues to be as just awful as he is. Like, this game feels like we're going to have a game like this against the Vikings at least once later in the year, just because Kirk Cousins is very much so the same type of quarterback as a Gardner Minshew. He's a little bit better, but he's still a guy you can spook, get out of his element, put him on his back feet. Meanwhile, I feel like, Dalvin, like, you're almost set up to kind of stop the run on Dalvin Cook, which, I mean, you haven't done it in the past. He's really good. Yeah. But you never know. Sometimes you're just going to get the number.
Couple quick questions from chat. Someone asked, was Slay this bad his rookie year as well? Referring to Okudah. Kind of. The thing is, Slay, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't a starter his first year.
He didn't. He didn't play this much. I think he started his rookie season or second year, but he was spotty. I think, the last few years have kind of bucked a trend with like Marshawn Lattimore, Denzel Ward. Yeah. But traditionally, cornerbacks struggle, their first year. A lot of them do look like Okudah has looked. And so,
I think that at the draft spot that Okudah was drafted in is just working against him right now because people. Yeah. I think we said this about Hawkinson last year too. When you get drafted in the top 10, like people expect you to go right away.
And then no preseason. I mean, to me, Okudah has looked. He's looked better every game, in my opinion. Each game he's improved. You're seeing him less, like we said, which is a good thing. He's improving as the season goes on. I don't know what PFF is going to say, but I mean, we're watching the game. We're watching, the plays unfold. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this was, one of his better games performance-wise when it's all said and done, for this year. So far as the first 4 games he's played.
Yeah, man, winning cures a lot of things sometimes too. Like, that's what it is.
For sure.
Cram asked, what do you think poor Morgadoo, Andrew Cotta, will think when he has to watch this game's passing offense? He's probably not going to be very happy. I think if there's one thing you can pick out about this game that was disappointing, we talked a lot about it during the break of the podcast, and a little bit actually during the podcast. Stafford still isn't playing pretty well, but it does feel like a lot of times he's standing there in the pocket and just waiting for someone to break open, and we're not seeing a lot of plays designed to get, I feel like last year we saw Hawkinson get wide open, saw Danny Amendola get wide open. Those are two of their better route runners. I don't feel like we're seeing that right now, and I'm not sure what's going wrong. I'm not sure if they're not being creative enough. I was hoping for a little bit more out of the bye week. But yeah, I think he's going to probably think unimaginative is maybe the biggest adjective I could probably get for the Lions passing offense in this game. They started to mix around some things in the second half, getting Jamal Agnew involved in that series. But there needs to be more consistency, especially with those wideouts like Marvin Jones. What's happening?
Yeah, Marvin Jones completely reverted back to Cincinnati. Marvin Jones, I don't bang him too much for being simplistic, just because I feel like after the bye there was probably a message like, "Look, man, it's not going well. We got to get back to basics here."
And they literally said that. They literally said like, "We're thinking too much. We're overthinking it. We need to just simplify everything."
So a half against the Jaguars is just chicken, like where you just go in simplistic. It's chicken soup. It's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
The one thing that worries me about Stafford, and this is actually, you know what? It's not the one thing that worries about Stafford. I'll get to that in a second. But like, I'm sorry, maybe I have a tick because I jumped in Bancer's mentions about this a little earlier. Like, and I know it's blowing up Twitter because Word of Isaac clipped it and got really huffy about it, and it said no one's giving Stafford any credit. That low sidearm sling that somehow he got home. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, that kind of thing. Like, I hate to bag on Stafford for a play that actually worked for him. But that is that's 2012, that's 2013 Stafford right there. And that worries me, is that he's going back to some really old tricks in his bag. It worked there. It looked beautiful. I just think 9 times out of 10, that throw doesn't work. And you shouldn't be making that throw unless you are like absolutely confident you can get home. But that's just a low percentage completion throw. And I'm not on every sidearm sling is bad, but man, that one was low. It looked weird. It worked. I just don't want to see Stafford doing that too much. You know what I'm saying?
That's in his repertoire, though, man. I think at this point, this far in his career, traditionally that may seem bad, but I don't know. It seemed like it works more than that for him when he, when he has to do it.
It works for him. It's just I don't know. It bugs me for some reason. That kind of goes back to a problem I was having in some of the stock report, and that Stafford's footwork suddenly seems to be like regressing too.
Right. Yeah.
Which like that it's just a larger problem. It just seems like whatever progress he had under Caldwell and Jim Bob Cooter, he's kind of going back to what he was before that. And I think that should be, again, it works in some cases, but I think that should be a larger point of concern moving forward.
Maybe. That specific example, I think that was the right play to make.
It was the right play to make because everyone was coming over the top. But I'm just saying,
right.
like, I don't think most times that, like 99% of the, like not 99%, but 90% of the time that ball's an incompletion is what I'm saying.
Maybe. Warwick asks, what do you guys think you should do to shut down Ridley and Julio? Brackets, heavy zone. I mean, my answer is pressure. Like, I don't think you're going to beat those guys with coverage.
That's it, man. We got you.
Make Ryan miss. He's not a great quarterback. The wheels are coming off on him. Just you don't stop Julio Jones. You stop Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Got to get home. We got to get home. When we blitz, we can't get those near misses, those almost sacks, because I'm kind of worried about that game, man. I know Atlanta's record is bad, but this looks like the perfect type of game. And our offense, to me, we can say, well, let's just win the shootout. I don't know. So far this year, I just don't see our offense being a team that can win in a shootout. I could see it looking a lot like the Packers game. I can see it looking like the Saints game where that other team is just going to score. You're not going to see their punter much. And can we match that? Can we, only punt the ball once or twice? I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
By the way, Jack Fox, unfortunately, going to have to be a stock down this week.
Yeah, he was not. He was not good today. I mean, it seems mean to say, but 2 touchbacks. I don't think the Lions punted much in this game.
It happens. You're going to have a down game.
Right. Hey guys, I got to run, but it was good seeing everybody. Good seeing everybody on the chat.
I'm glad Jerry could get in front of their podcast.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have him back. I know chat was very excited to see you. You're welcome back. Obviously,
I say all the time when I'm on, like, Jerry, you're the Green Ranger. You show up every now and then, but you like get massive fanfare. You're like the Italian chef on Iron Chef. Like, it's fantastic, man.
Got to get that little Green Ranger flute noise going on. All right, dude. Talk to you later.
Later, Jerry. Yeah. And we're probably only going to be about 5 more minutes here because I got to get back to work. I haven't written much about the game.
I have a lot I've got to do today. Jerry didn't say anything about it. We've got a secret project that's coming along here. So
I'm very excited about hearing that myself. Cram asked, any word on Julian Okwara? Not that I've seen. Obviously, I've basically been here during all the post-game press conferences, so I haven't listened or read up on any of the post-game press conferences. But I was just scrolling through Twitter to see if I could find an answer for you. And I found something very interesting and one that's going to rile up Lions fans in a way I'm not entirely sure. But I'm just going to throw it right here on screen here. If you can't read that, it says, Jaguars quarterback Gardner Minshew, quote, they're a very good defense and very well coached. That's one thing that stands out. Yep, bureaucrat already knew what I was going to say.
That's QB speak, man.
Of course. But, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if we're going to make a big ruckus of all the quarterbacks at the end of games that say, oh, we knew it was coming. We knew what they were going to throw at us, and we beat them at it. Like,
No. I don't think any quarterbacks have been saying that. It's always been, like, other guys.
Well, no, it's been defenders that, like, we knew. No, it wasn't it. It was a quarterback that was like, we knew they were going to play man-to-man at the end of the game, and we knew what plays were coming.
Yeah, I think you're right. I always thought it was a wide receiver or something.
I think it was Mitch Trubisky. So if you're going to get angry about that kind of quote, this is the exact opposite of that. Like, yeah, it's all post game quotes, and yes, if your offense gets beat, you're going to say that's a great defense. If you kick ass on offense, you're going to say we knew it was coming. It was all about preparation. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, I think the difference there is Mitch is still young and was trying to fluff himself, whereas Minshew at this point, he's gotten so much love from the from the press for the mustache and looking like Uncle Rico and everything else is that he's going to be glad handing a bit because I think he wants to angle for some sort of broadcast job because he knows this gravy train isn't going to last much longer in the NFL. So get ready to move to the booth, man. That'll be fantastic. I'd love to see Minshew in the booth. Are you kidding me?
Maybe
he'll wear the headband.
I'm not sure you can even take it off. Is it glued there?
No,
it's stapled to his forehead.
It's actually a physiological feature of his body. It's part of his skin, Jeremy.
Maybe.
Yeah.
By the way, right now Tom Brady is 15 of 17 for 142.
Yeah, this is a really weird game. Like,
I'm loving
you guys
it.
mentioned
That's part of the reason why I want to get out here is because I want to watch the game. Also, I don't
think anyone anticipated this. I thought everyone was like, after, narrative is, you know what? You should always be ready for the narrative reversal in the NFL just because every week is so different. The fact that Tom Brady messes up a fourth down last time you see him on the field, you should be ready for him to go off the next game. Like, it doesn't always happens like that, but it always feels like we're talking about a guy like Tom Brady
who gets disrespected once and he just tears you apart. I mean, that's that's a real thing though. Like, you if you watch The Last Dance, Jordan felt slighted because of what, like, some guy didn't say hi to him once.
Yeah, psychotic motivation.
Yeah.
Like, some of these guys, that's why I remember there was a year when the Patriots were like, no one believed in us. And like, no, we all thought you were good. But that's the kind of motivation these guys want. They can't live without that. It is adrenochrome to the system, man. All I'm going to say, though, is likewise, next week, I feel bad for the Texans because what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to the Texans is going to be bleeping filthy in the same vein. Like, he's going to take all of that out in the Texans.
Wow. I don't know if anyone's watching that Bucs game, but that was a serious slice on that field goal from whoever the Bucs kicker is. That looked like it was going 3 yards wide right, and then it just came in. Anything else from you, chat? I do want to...
Thanks for letting me jump in late here.
Yeah,
I've
no
been
problem.
terrible lately, and I just overslept, and
all good.
I'm just tired.
We're up to 121 subs, by the way, chat. You guys were insane today. Appreciate all that, and I appreciate you putting up with the commercials during the breaks. It was something we were testing out. I think it worked. I think it was fine. You don't miss much.
So it doesn't interrupt break. Because I know like Twitch is like making you do those mandatory. You're doing that just to make sure it doesn't interrupt the actual podcast itself.
Right. Yeah. We're just running it during our normal breaks.
Yeah. But like, I know Kotaku pointed out like those ads are mandatory now for a lot of Twitch viewers. Yeah. And if you don't get them at a scheduled time, they will randomly interrupt whatever you're doing. So it's good that we do them during the breaks rather than I don't know if you explained it to chat. That's why I'm doing it. So,
Ryan the Lion, we've missed you too, bud. Thanks for stopping by, albeit at the end of our stream. So quick recap of what's coming ahead. We will have our preview podcast Wednesday night here on the Twitch channel or on YouTube. Not live on YouTube yet. We're thinking about extending to live YouTube streams. If you guys are into that, let me know on YouTube in the comments, or if you're here on Twitch, let me know as well. We'll also have the man coverage podcast that will be released Tuesday, I believe.
Usually when he gets it to me is Tuesday.
Yeah. So we'll have a special guest there. I forgot. I already have been told who it is, but I've forgotten. But you're gonna like it. Oh, it's I'll leak. It's a former Lions player.
Oh, you know what? He has told me about that. Okay.
So I'll be on the lookout for that. I think that's it we've got for Twitch stream. We'll obviously do our Madden Sims on Saturday. If you haven't dropped by, we do a nice, fun little Q&A during a Madden Sim. Well, the Lions are 0-5 in Madden Sims because Madden hates the Lions for some reason. But
conspiracy against the Lions, Jeremy.
It is.
They're SOL bastards out there. I'm starting to stream. I know Reno. If you guys watch Reno streams, he's been off because of internet issues. I think once I get this secret project out of the way, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys once we do. That's why I'm eating and taking some time off here because I need to get it done real fast. Once I do, I'm going to try to stream some more video games, I think. And I want to take some Lions questions, so I hope you all follow and come by for that. I know I don't even remember what I call myself on Twitter and Twitch anymore. Just ridiculous crap. But yeah.
Be on the lookout for all that.
Yeah, and it's been fantastic. I mean, Lions win always feels good, no matter if people think I'm just a bastard because I won't predict the Lions or something. Yeah, stay adequate. Thank you, Warwick. Yeah.
We got 6 days to enjoy the win and think of positive thoughts instead of just thinking about the the full blow up, the full rebuild that might be ahead of us anyways. We just don't need to focus on that for 6 days, and that feels good. And so
I think it's still coming. But,
it might be,
whatever.
but we don't have to think about
I'll
it.
be wrong. Sometimes I'll be wrong. You're allowed to be wrong in life.
Of course.
Spoiler alert.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. I'm not going to rate anyone. Actually, no. Let's go raid Super Scores real quick. They're enjoying. They're watching this Bucks Packers game. So if you want to, kind of have a Twitch crowd to watch this game with, head on over there. I work with them. I'm not officially employed by them, but I work with them. We had an awesome interview with Herman Moore before the game today. So head on over there. Enjoy some more football. Enjoy a Lions win, and we will see you guys on Wednesday. Goodbye until then.
Let me know when we're out.
All right. We're officially rated.
Okay.
But in the past, that means we're still live. And I'm going to end it in 5, 4, 3, 2,